Hey guys, welcome back to the JK Way.
Hey guys.
I'm Jay.
And I am Kay.
Hopefully you guys know us by now.
Right, but for the new viewers, this is Jay and I am Kay. And today we're actually going to be talking about something a little bit more like serious.
On the serious side of things.
Yeah, just, I guess like being married now, a lot of stuff like from our past just comes up frequently, and it's I think it's for the better. I think it's for the best. I think it's for the best. As far as like once those things come up, like we had discussions about it, and we try to sort through that just to kind of see how a thing has like helped us or hindered us in any way, and how, if it has hindered us, how can we like change it for the best. I was watching we watched a podcast last night a little bit, and it was just something in there that one of the girls said, and she was like you can't fault your person for their upbringing, right? But it is their she was like,
you can hold them accountable.
Yeah, it is their account. It is their what did she say? She said you can't fault them for their upbringing, but it is their responsibility now. So whatever happened in our past, like we can't fault each other for that, but we can hold the person responsible for how they are within that in this present day. And I think a lot of people have problems with accepting what role they play in the situation. Like a lot of black people, I like to say too, we like to hold on to things that we had no control over, but we have control now, and we still choose to be a victim to whatever situation in the name of, my parents gave up on me, or my mama wasn't there, or my daddy wasn't there, or
it's gonna sound bad, but the super duper excuses to just not do something.
Right.
Because that's what it is at the end of the day.
Right. And so, so when things come up and topics come up, we try to discuss them because we don't want to be victim to a situation. We want to acknowledge what it is and grow from it, if anything. And so today's topic, we're going to be talking about like daddy issues. Like, neither of us were raised with our biological fathers in the home. Well, did you ever live with your mom and dad?
No.
Yeah.
Not that I could remember.
Yeah.
If so, I was a baby, like a baby, like carry me around, baby.
Yeah. And I don't ever recall living in the household with my mom and my biological dad. So I would say like I think it's different stages of the absentee dad. Like, and you might have a different experience because you're a guy and you were an only child. But like for me, I went through stages of, it was like different stages I experienced not having my dad in my home. Granted, I had my stepdad, but it was different because even my stepdad was just, his personality as a whole was very just, I think he had daddy issues as well, and so he was almost limited to what kind of dad he could have been. So I didn't feel like I got the full like daddy-daughter experience with him. He was there and he was present, but I think he had his own stuff he needed to sort out as well. But like as far as not having my biological dad growing up, I think at this stage now, I'm just kind of content with it is what it is.
Right, I think.
But that's not everybody's case. But for me, I've come to terms with this is just what it was, and there's opportunity to change that. But I'm okay if it doesn't change. That's kind of where I am. Right. But growing up, you go through the whole I'll tell my like experience as like a girl, and then you can tell yours as
a girl with siblings. It's
right.
Complete opposites over
right. And you're like the boy without his dad, and then an only child. So two totally different experiences, even though we're having the same experience as far as our dad's not being present. But as a little girl, like I remember just like not feeling like wanted, like by my. I used to wonder like, dang, I will never be able to have like that daddy-daughter dance. Like I never went to a daddy-daughter dance. I don't know if that's just popular now,
No, I think
or if that's been
dance,
a thing, and I just did not know because.
No, I think they've always been a thing.
Yeah, so I used to get sad as a little girl because I would be like, dang, like my dad is not here, or my, like what did I do to, be in this space where my dad is not around, like. It used to make me wonder, how do you have a child and you just don't know anything about them, And so that's kind of how I felt as a young girl. I used to feel sad about it. Like, dang, like I don't get to live with my dad, or I don't, whatever the case is. Then I think I went to a state of anger. Like I
think everybody gets to that phase at some point, whether it comes sooner or later.
Yeah.
That angry phase.
Yeah, I became angry because I'm like, if this is my dad, like, why is he not in my life? Like, what did I do to not be able to have him in my life? And
right.
And let me just go on the record to say this: like, my mom was not the kind of mom that kept us away or anything like that. Like, we did see my dad from time to time growing up. We even went, I think, one summer for a couple weeks, and I absolutely hated it. I hated it. Because he used to make me feel so small. Like, he would say stuff like, oh, that's why, like, he would refer to my stepdad, like, that's why that's your daddy. That's why, my sister, he'd be like, that's why, I'm her daddy. And, as a kid, it's like, why would you say that to your kids?
That's tough.
Yeah, it was. And it made me it made me really, really, I don't even want to say hate, but I was so just upset and bothered because I'm like, I'm your child. I don't feel like there's nothing your own child can do to you that bad to where you just, you taunt them like that. Like, right. He didn't like the fact that I spoke up. I'm not the type of, even as a young girl, like I can't do the fluff stuff. Like, if there's a problem, let's talk about it. Like, but don't act like there's nothing wrong and kind of just trying to sweep it under the rug. Like, it's never set well with me, even as a child. And so he would just want to come around like, oh, daddy, oh, daddy girl. And I'm like, bro, you ain't been here. Like, I don't even have that connection with you. And right. And I want to have it, but in order to have it, we have to talk. And he just really didn't like those talks. But at that stage, it angered me because I would be like, I just don't understand this. Like,
right. The funny thing about it is, like, as a kid, you blame yourself. Like why your pops don't want to be there. Like, you blame yourself. I ain't putting fault to nobody. Life happens, but like, as a kid, you just don't think about.
You don't understand,
like the relationship that was there before you were born.
Yeah.
You don't even throw that into context, nor do you really. I feel like you don't even ask like that because you got to stay in a child's place. You don't really.
You talking about
that.
Like the relationship between your parents?
Your parents before, like as a kid,
right?
You just like, dang, where my dad at?
Yeah.
Versus like what was happening before, like,
right?
You
like you don't know what you was born into,
right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know that. You just assume you did something, which is I don't even know how you come about that feeling. Like, you just wake up one morning like that.
Because you just be like, what? Yeah. What did I do? Right.
Like that the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will walks into the room and he's talking to Uncle Phil and he's like, why he don't want me?
Oh, on Bel-Air, yeah.
And Uncle Phil is just kind of like,
yeah,
it is what it is, bro.
It's almost like you don't have nothing else to put it on, like, because it's like you try to wrap your mind around the fact that your own flesh and blood don't want you, and it's almost like, well, why don't you want me? It's almost hard to tie that with anything else, like, because at the end of the day, I'm an individual person. Whatever you got going with my mama, that don't got nothing to do with me.
Even though you're a whole product of them being together.
Right. And so I think that's kind of where the question comes in. It's like, okay, I know you ain't cool with my mama, but I'm not my mama. I'm like, you're not, I'm your child. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of...
But they can't see you without seeing...
Yeah, but like I said, in my case, my mom wasn't the kind of mom that... They just did not like each other, but she wasn't the type that would like try and keep... Because some moms will do that. They would try to keep their kids away, but my mom wasn't that kind of mom.
Yeah, what I was saying was like, he can't see you. Like, if he looks at you, he's going to see...
And he would say that like, I reminded him of my mom a lot, and that's why we probably didn't get along because,
you look like your mom a lot.
Yeah, I really do. But yeah. So I went through the whole phase of sad, and then it was anger, and then it was just like, at this point, it is what it is. Like the door is open. But that open door is gonna come with some uncomfortable conversations. It's probably gonna come with some tears shed on both sides. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm open to it becoming something else, but if it does not, I'm content with what it is. And now that I'm older, I have a better understanding of, like you were saying, when you kids, you don't even consider the relationships your parents had before. You don't consider any of that. But now as an adult, I realize that people, like every person has a capacity. Like, yeah. Like some people they only have capacity to do a certain amount of things or you know what I'm saying? They only have space for so much, so much love, so much emotion, so much healing, so much. And it's because everybody has their own journey, and when you have a child, I mean, your journey does not stop. It's just now you have your own journey and you have a child, and now it's like an intersect. Yeah, and it's like, wait, what? And so every person isn't their individual, whether it's a parent, a grandparent, they're still an individual at the end of the day, and they have their own struggles and things like that. And if people don't sort through that stuff, it can hinder their relationship with their child. And I just think maybe my dad has some stuff, his own stuff that has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with any of his children. It's just his own journey that brought certain things in, and he hasn't quite understood how to like process his stuff and then have the relationships with his children. And so with having that understanding, it's like I'm okay. Like it is what it is. He has his own journey, and even though we're his children, like we may or may not be on that journey. And it's a weird thing to say, but it is what it is. And so that's kind of where I am with it. I don't really, as far as like daddy issues, I will say like when I used to date, which I didn't date a lot. Like I was very, very particular in the guys that I dated because I didn't want anybody like that reminded me of my dad. Like
clearly.
And it was so much so if you just did anything that he did or did not do, I just did not want to talk to you. And so I will say it helped me being like that strict on my dating life. I will say it probably kept me from a lot of heartbreaks, but I will also say it probably kept me from some good relationships too. Yeah, because it was like, oh no, you do one out of the 10 things. Nope. You know what I'm saying? And so I will say that probably hindered me a little bit, but at the end of the day, I know that I wanted to marry like a man who like understood family and also like a man like strong in his emotions, which we working on that, I think, with you. And I really think that might have something to do with like your
strong. What do you mean strong in your emotions?
Like don't like not. I won't say not to don't be afraid to speak up, but like a strong. Basically, like when you know that you want something or you I guess maybe like just standing on whatever it is that you want and not swaying from it. Like if you say this is what it is, this is what it is. Like in my mind, this is what I see like as a husband, like a father. Like if this is what it is, if me and my family doing this, this is what me and my family doing. It don't matter what nobody say. If, you know, like the emotional side, like being emotionally like in check with me, with our kids, with like bringing that side, because, and I think I probably desired that more. Like, now that I'm saying this out loud, I think I desired that emotional connection. Like, clearly it didn't happen with my dad. So like with my husband, like I want to be able to I'm about to like cry up and stuff. This ain't supposed to be, it's supposed to be deep, but not this deep. But I think, ooh, hold on, wait. I'm back.
Okay. It's okay.
All right, no, I'm back. I'm back.
You grown K now. You capital K.
All right, sorry y'all. Got a little emotional, but what I was saying is, like, not having that whole, it goes back to like the daddy daughter, like, oh, daddy's princess, or, you know, daddy loves you, which he would say that, but it just kind of felt empty.
Shallow.
Yeah, because like, how do you love me but you ain't around? But so I think I desire that from you. Because I never had that, you know, like, and it ain't gonna be no other man that I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I feel like, I've been talking to you about like, babe, you're not really emotional. Like, you don't connect. You don't like pet names and stuff. So and I don't have to be called babe or something, but it's like, there is no softness, like, and we've had those kind of conversations,
right? But I didn't know it was,
I didn't like
where it was coming from.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I didn't either until I just had this revelation when I'm saying it out loud, because I've always just said like, oh babe, like you don't use pet names, or you know, I don't be feeling like you emotionally checked in, but I didn't know why I would be saying that. But I guess I mean, talking about this just made me, because I used to always, I think it happened because I used to always say, I'm gonna have daddy issues. Like, because most times when people think daddy issues, they think like, oh, you out here looking for love in all the wrong places, you promiscuous. Yeah. And so when people say that, I used to say like, well, I don't really have no daddy issues. But now talking about, because I would leave it at that, I've never really talked about it. So now talking about it, it's like, wait, I think that's why. Yeah. That, so it is a daddy
like,
issue.
With like dad stuff, it almost like, it's almost like a fad or a trend, right?
What it is.
Like being without your biological father, like you almost like, you know, a lot of people like, it's my sperm donor. That was a sperm donor, right? And we make jokes and stuff about it, but it's such a common thing,
right.
Like. And it's almost like you're frowned upon if you got both parents. Like,
right.
Like you grew up with both your parents? Oh, what?
Right.
What you know about stuff?
Right.
A lot more than you probably do, because you have a two-parent household.
Right. Though I think the generation now is trying to do a little bit better with that, but yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. Well, my experience with my pops is pretty different. Pretty different. I would ask myself a lot, growing up, would it have been better to just never have met him, or to know what could have been? I actually wrote a poem about it, and I called it, there's parts in the poem that are like memories I never knew. Like, for me, I grew up as an only child. And I had a very like elaborate imagination. Like I feel like now if you took kid me and sent me to a doctor today, they would say I was schizophrenic, because my imaginary friend was very elaborate. My imaginary friend was Michael. Like I used to.
I didn't know. Did I? I think I know you had an imaginary friend. I didn't know his name was Michael.
Yeah, his name was Michael. Clearly, Michael Jordan, but.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His name was Michael. I would go so far as setting up my Nintendo 64 controller and sitting it there, knowing Nobody's like not playing.
I didn't know you was that hardcore with your imaginary friend.
Yeah, that's why that's why I be in my own world. Like I can take this and just make whatever I want out of it. But that and I wrote that poem as an adult. Actually, not maybe a couple years ago I wrote it. And back to what I was saying, it got so bad that in the poem I would write about memories that I never knew. I would write about what my father could have brought to the table, because there was a point in time, like I can't to this day, I can't say like I dislike my father, you know, I hate him and all that. No, because growing up, he was around. It like I loved going to my dad and my grandma's house. But if I had to like put one word to that relationship between me and my dad, it was very confusing, because I didn't know, like, does he love me? Yeah, he does. Do I have some of his characteristics? I do, and I've seen them, like his sarcasm. He's into IT. Like, I know a lot about my father for him to, like, for me as a kid, it just felt like there was a minute where I was hanging with him, and then it just wasn't. But yeah, he draws, I draw, like we had a lot in common. But then the confusion came where it was like, you know, my dad's house at the time was like down the street from my high school, you know, where I played football at. And I would be like, I would tell him, I was like, hey dad, come to my game. It's literally, it might not even been half a mile away, you know, come to my game, you know, at Richmond, down the street, come to the game. Can you make the game? Come to the game. And then I think that's when it started to, actually no, let me backtrack. This may be too much information, but when I was like 10 or 11, I guess that's when I first got the glimpse of, like really felt that confusion, because we went to take, me, my mom, my dad, we went to take a DNA test. And I'm like, I'm not stupid. Like I know what, like yeah. I can read now. I'm 10 years old. Like I know what's going on.
Do you remember how did you feel in that moment, or you don't really remember?
I probably blanked it out.
Okay.
Knowing me, I probably just threw it out. But you know, they swabbed them out with Q-tips, and I'm just like, so either he don't think I'm his kid, or she don't think he's my father. So now I'm like, okay, is it mom or is it my dad? That like why like? But obviously the DNA test came back and that he is my biological father. So after that, I'm thinking like things will go back to how that was when I was younger. Like my dad taught me how to ride my bike. My dad used to throw football with me. He drew me dinosaurs. He taught me how to make an airplane. He put me on PlayStation. Like he played Crash Bandicoot. Like he had this like I have a surround sound system in the living room or in our theater room. I have that because of my dad. My dad had these two, I want to say they were Kenwood speakers. I don't know if they ever worked, but he had a huge TV in the living room. There's a TV right there. The couch would sit right there. There was two speakers, and then over here I would have all my toys. And then in the room on the other side of their house, there was nothing but computer stuff. So when you look at my life now, like when I look back on it, I'm like, dang, like I'm a lot like my father, but I don't fully know him, which is such a confusing thing to me. It's like, how did I pick up all these traits from, I don't know, maybe less than 10 years of like actively being with my father. And then it transitioned to hate. Like, all right, bro, what's the deal? Like
what age or time frame in your life would you say that kind of came?
Transition to high school.
So it's pretty much the same kind of with mine.
Yeah, okay. Like I'm like, all right, man. Like what is this? Like, you know, now it's turning into these sporadic, like once a month kind of calls.
And
once.
Did you ever have any kind of conversations? Because me and my dad, we've had conversations, but it always kind of blow up because I'm telling him how I feel, and he kind of just kind of like, okay, but I'm here now type thing. Did you ever like try to have a conversation like, hey dad, like I noticed you ain't coming around more, like, or?
No, I never had that conversation because well, for one, it became hard to contact him, and I was kind of over that. And then when we actually had like a talk, and this is like, I was living in Atlanta, and I basically was like, I don't hold no grudge or anything against you or nothing like that. Whatever happened. And we would, like, I would tell you about it. We'd go on these spurts of talk to my dad a couple times out the week, bada boom, bada bam, how's it going? Invited him to the wedding. No response type thing.
Oh, you invited him?
Yeah, I think I told him about it.
I thought you didn't invite him.
I told him about it. But he, no response. So it's like, if he would have been like, oh, I could show up for you. Like, I'll be there for you.
Yeah. How did that make you feel? That with the wedding?
At the time, it was just like, oh well, nothing I'm not used to, or is that just what is it? Not coping mechanism? I guess that is a coping, like, just whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like back to the confusion, it's just like, what? Neither one of my parents have answers, or like, unless I gotta pull it out of them. But I'm at a point now. It's like, do I even care? Because I do care. Because I'd be lying if I didn't. Because if something did happen to my dad, I would be hurt. Like, I would be like legit like hurt for two things, because of the memories I do have with my dad, like the poem I had, the memories I never knew, and the fact that I didn't really get to fully know him. But back to the teenage years, like when my stepdad came into the picture, I hated my stepdad. It was bad. I've actually, before we got married, I actually told him, I was like, yo, like, I said some crazy stuff to you when I was growing up. It ain't had nothing to do with you, man. I was just young teenager, didn't know how to.
You think that came from not your dad not being there? Like, why did you?
Because
instead of like it could have went to one of two ways. It could have went like, okay, now you're happy that you have a father figure, because yours wasn't there, or you despise him because yours left. Like,
I despise him because I feel like I already went through this slow transition of like my dad being phased out, and then like another guy.
Oh, so you was like, you not his replacement. That's
right.
Okay.
Like, it's like, dang, my dad's being like, it's official. Like, yeah. I'm not like I don't call my stepdad dad. I call him by his first name. And it's nothing. I love my stepdad. Too. Like, I love him. I love him to death.
Yeah.
It was just a hard, like, man, like what is, and like it really sucks, because now that I'm saying it, I hear him. Like, he used to always call me Maine. Hey man, how's it going? How's it going? Like, and he was just this nerdy guy, and I'm like that's like that, like, how am I like you and I don't know you? Like, I don't have, and on top of it, I don't have I have very few pictures, so I can't like, I know what my dad looks like, but I can't like look at like, a timeline. Like, I can't see, like, because at one point I really did think I was like adopted. Like, at younger ages, I don't really look like either one of my parents. The older I get, the more I look like my mom. But young, like growing up, I'm like, shoot, and I start lying to myself, because it's like, maybe I'm adopted. Maybe I wasn't this kid, because I don't look nothing like him. Like, I don't. But
so, like, what would you say? Like, do you think you have any daddy issues? And what would they be, if so?
Man, do I have dad issues?
Because what does that look like for a guy, if you have them?
So I guess it's like different for a guy, right? Because we don't. I'm saying this, but don't take it like out of context. Like, we don't necessarily seek like male like attention. Like
or like, do you like feeling like acceptance or feeling the need to like achievement, like if you like getting that pat on the back from your dad or a male or like anything like, dang, I wish my dad had seen this, or I wish my dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there any...
For me personally, that's a whole nother topic that ain't got nothing to do with like my dad. Like, I feel, as far as like accomplishments and stuff, you know, I think everybody that was around me, but as far as like somebody patting me on the back and saying good job at a younger age, I got let down too many times to even care. Like, to even like whether you tell me good job or not, I know what I did. Like, and I'm still kind of the same way, but during that back then, it's not with a chip on the shoulder. It's with I know it's not coming. I guess you could say I wish it would, but if it did or didn't, I would be blank about it. Like, I would be just like, all right, whatever. I appreciate it, cool. And it's not gonna make me go any harder. It's not gonna make me try any less. It's just whatever that is. But I would say not having the combination of the dad and the no siblings. I put heavy emphasis on my friendships and people that know me.
Wait, so you don't think you have any daddy issues?
No, not like...
Or like anything that's missing because of the absence of your dad?
No, cause that's why I was saying it's like confusing. Cause I can't like legit say my dad was out of my life. Like, you know, you have some kids that just don't know their dad, or they have like a disjointed relationship. It's like, or they can say they've never learned anything from their dad. I can't say that. So like, right. I'm thankful for those things, and they came at good times. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been great if he was around like as a teenager and talk about the sex talks and the birds and the bees and all that, just from a man's perspective. You know, I had to get it all from my mom for the most part. But the issue, I guess, I don't know if it's an issue, but just like I said, I put a lot of emphasis on my friends, because I think I look up to a lot of my friends, and I think if I had to pick an issue, it was to be looking like that constant looking for a hero, like looking for a role model.
That would be, that's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah, I can go to my cousins and friends, but it was like, I want somebody that's like me, that's me, like a part of me to look up to, and it just is like, it's just not there. Like, it's just not there. So like, obviously when you play sports as a kid, you look up to your coaches, and then, you know, you look up to your favorite athlete, and you look up to all these other people that aren't necessarily gonna be around your whole life.
Right.
Like, you know, whether you got a relationship with your dad or not, biologically, you know, that's your dad. Like, no matter how you cut that cake, that's your dad. And it's like, there's always gonna be that little kid in me that's like, dang, bro, like, wish me and my dad could have did this. Wish me and my dad could have did that. Oh, I forgot to mention this as well. I'm not my dad's only kid. And
that's another, like, how
so like about... I know like who my sisters are. And there was a point in time where my dad had another kid and had another woman as well, and I would still go to my dad's house. Like, that didn't stop me. It was a little weird, but I saw the baby, I saw the other lady, and we would still all hang out together. Like, before all that, like, me and my dad used to take the bus to go to the mall, and most kids would be like embarrassed to pull up in front of the mall on a bus, but I was just like, nah, bro, I'm with my dad. Like, yeah, like, I'm with my dad, so I guess.
So, have you ever thought about, like, have you ever thought, and do you feel the way that your sisters get? Because in my case, my dad has 5 daughters, and I think 1, maybe 2 have lived with him at some point, but he raised another woman's kids, and I used to feel a way about that. But in your case, your sisters are getting to experience y'all dad a different way than you. In my case, it was like, these ain't even your kids, and you helping raise them, and they ain't helping raise yours. But in your case, it's like, those are his kids, and you're his kid too, but he's raising them and not you. Has that ever, like, have you ever felt the way or anything like, well, dang, they get him and I didn't, or anything like that? I
can't say that I felt some type of way, because the older I got, the more I tried to put the pieces together. Like, why am I not a part of the puzzle? Or why my puzzle piece just didn't fit. Either on, like, there's a point in time where I felt like I didn't fit on my mom and dad's side. Okay. So him having other children and basically another life, it was just like, what is it now? Like, is it still me? Like, is it me that drove you to have a whole nother life with other kids that you're with every single day? Or, like I said earlier, about, when we were kids, we don't think about what was going on around us by the time you were born or conceived or whatever. I started thinking about that, and then, like, sometimes I could get so caught up in the what if, it almost becomes like a reality. So, like, I could get mad about my dad for stuff that I, like, made up. Like, because I would, like, be trying to figure out so hard, like, what is this disjointed relationship? I'd be like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It's like, yeah, I think it's this thing or whatever it is, and be like, yeah, man. And then I went on the whole, like, F my dad stage like everybody else does, but I never meant it. Just like with my stepdad, I never meant any of the mean things I said to him. I just know, like, I know what that confusion felt like as a child. And, whenever we have kids, I'm going to be present. Like, I don't want them to feel like, I don't ever want a kid, like our future kids, to feel like daddy's not connected to me. Like, because, like, starting out, me and my stepdad's relationship wasn't the best. So he was there, but it was kind of like, it's just the body. Right, like, there's not a connection.
Not aware,
there's not a connection. And that took a long time to develop over the years.
Yeah.
So I don't want that feeling of just unknown. Like, it's just a scary feeling, because you just start questioning yourself. Like, you always, I don't know why we do this as humans. Excuse me. You're not supposed to point the finger at somebody else, but in certain situations, you're like, what did I do? Right. Why am I in this situation? And why are other people that are like me in this situation? What are we doing to our parents or parent, in the context of this, our dad, to be in this situation? We never look at the full picture. We never look at, like, what actually was going on. It could be you just, hey, you just might have one of them guys that ain't that good of a guy. It could be something that went down with mom. It could be some other family issues. It could be a lack of responsibility. It could be a whole
capacity of what they have. It could be offer.
A whole thing. But what will always stump me and will stump me for the rest of my life is how, I know we're talking about dads, but a parent in general, like how can you willingly let your child go without, because I know there's extreme exceptions to everything, but without put them in a position like if letting your kid go was going to better their life. For example, we talked about, I referenced Will Smith earlier. If letting your kid go to Bel Air is going to essentially save their life, I understand that. But when let's say everything's even and you just like...
You leave and don't set them up for greatness.
Right, you leave and that's it. It's like, yo, what you got against me?
Yeah.
If anything, I'm gonna be a ride or die before the baby mama. You know what I'm saying? What did I do? What did I do?
Which goes all back to the capacity. Like a person can only give so much of what they have, and sometimes they don't have what you like. They don't have what you need, and that's not necessarily.
That don't pertain to a kid or an adult.
That doesn't make them a bad person. It's just people like my dad wasn't the dad that I wanted, but
and I think for me that makes it worse, because my dad at one point was the dad that I wanted.
Got you. Yeah, I don't have those kind of. You know, so I don't like. I wanted a different dad per se, but that's not the dad I had. But I guess it was the dad I needed, because I don't know where I am now. It's
always it's always the dad you needed or the situation you needed when you turn out all right.
Well,
it's all like if everything ends up working out in your favor, you end up being a productive human being. It's always it happened when it should.
yeah, because it's almost just like, well, did this happen because it was supposed to happen, or did this happen because like you weren't there? Like, was this going to happen regardless?
It's my whole life resentment towards you, so I had to go hard just to be like, you know what, I'm doing this with or without you.
Right, it just made you wonder, but I think that might conclude, or do you have anything else?
No, I would say, shout out to all the awesome dads out there. I got some friends that have some awesome dads.
Dads, uncles that step in.
Father figures. Shout out to all y'all, because it's important. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a smaller version of the saying, like, it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
It takes both parties. Like, it'll get done. Clearly, we're here. Like, the job.
But it took a village.
Right.
Yeah.
The job will get done. But just to have that different perspective, that balance, because, mother knows best. Mother knows what she knows.
Yeah.
And as a kid, if mother tells you something, you just kind of gotta roll with it until you become old enough to not roll with it. You don't get that other side of things. Like I got
balance.
Right, I got guys in the that I talk to him every time I'm in the gym, and he works in the school system. The last conversation we had was kind of similar to this. He was like, man, one of my basically, he didn't say this verbatim, but one of his biggest fears as a kid was letting his dad down.
Right.
And he was like, that would just keep me going, because I know my dad held me to a higher standard and he would want the best of me. So if I'm not putting out the best version of myself to accomplish whatever I'm trying to do, dad's gonna be upset with me, even though he won't scorn him or fuss at him or
it's
be
just
mad.
A disappointment. He don't want him to be disappointed.
He's gonna help him along the way. He's gonna give credit when credit's due. He's gonna be stern when it needs to be stern, but he's there. Like, it's like, no, I don't want to let Pops down. It's kind of like, it's a weird, the dad things. Like, make my dad proud, make my mama proud. Like, it's those just like things. I don't know how to describe them, but it's something about making your parent proud, no matter how old you get. Like, there's something in there that just like, yeah, my mama, my mama is proud of me. I'm sure my dad, my step-parents, my uncles, aunts, I'm sure they're proud of me right now. But when it comes from like that immediate household, mom and dad, like when they look at you and be like, I'm proud of you. Which, I know we were trying to wrap up the video, but like my dad has told me that. And during my explanation,
my dad has told me that too, but
during my explanation of this, when I kept saying it was confusing, my explanation probably sound extremely confusing because that's how it was. Like, you know, my dad did tell me he was proud of me. We've even had the same. It's so weird. We've even had the same job at some point in time, as far as IT being like a DBA, and it was like, what is that? But
now, do you think that you did these things because it connected you to your dad in a way, or do you think you just did these things because you just want to do these things?
My dad introduced me to computers.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Like,
so do you feel like you've went this route to have some sort of connect, or to be like, oh, well, my dad taught me this, or my dad, or...
I didn't go the route because like it connected me to my dad. I went the route because I guess I saw what it did for my dad and my one of my uncles as well. He exposure. It was one of those things, right? Like, just to tie this in, as a kid, right? I didn't have a computer, but I liked computers. I love computers, video games, still do to this day. So I think I asked for a computer. I might have even asked my dad. He probably didn't answer, or whatever the case may be. But I knew I liked computers. He introduced me to them, and I knew I liked them. So what I did was I in high school? I was in high school. I saved up my lunch money for an entire school year. You know, I had to pay for lunch every day. $110, 180 days out the year. I saved every dime to buy an E-Machines. They don't even make these anymore. An E-Machines computer. My mom found the jar under my bed magically. She kicked it, cleaning my room. Like, my mom never cleaned my room. He was in there snooping around trying to find something. But I saved up all that money to, you know, computers were a lot cheaper back then. I got a little decent little E-Machines, and I bought a computer, and I was bumming fries from everybody from school. Mm-hmm. I was still playing football, so I go to football practice hungry, but I wanted a computer. That is what drove me to the career path that I chose.
And wanting that computer came from
Dad.
That's okay.
That came from Dad. The initial like spark of technology, IT, video games, that came from my dad. Yeah. Like, he showed me. Like, he came to my dad, and I know we're trying to wrap up this video, but I introduced my stepdad to video games because my dad put me on the video games. It got to a point in time where my stepdad wouldn't let me play the games I put him on. Mm-hmm. So that was like, so you come in, you replace my pops, and then you take away a pastime that me and my dad had. You know, now we gotta fight. Now we gotta fight. He wasn't with me blowing Sega cartridges, you know? He wasn't with me slamming the Nintendo this thing in there. You weren't with me putting alcohol in between the cartridge.
Did you ever lick it?
Yeah, I did. I took my Sega apart. I spilled Kool-Aid in my Sega one time. I took it apart and cleaned it off and put it back together. Dang. Like, it was just, you know, it's and I'm still confused, as y'all can see. I'm confused. It doesn't hold me back from anything. It's just a whole big old what if, you know, and I refuse to let my future children feel that way. Like, they gonna know. Like, I may not be I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna be as emotionally connected as I'm gonna be when whenever the kids do arrive, but I know like I gotta be there. Like I have to. Like they may not get the warm, loving affection as Mother K will probably do, because I got different layers as well. I got the Marine Corps me, I got the old fat kid version of me, I got the artsy me, I got the IT me, I got the college student me, I got the with my dad at me, I got the dang, do any of my parents want me? I got the does my family even support me? But that's a whole nother topic. So like my emotions can be disjointed, but I will not turn my back really on anybody, but let alone whenever we have kids, I'm gonna be there. But that's my spiel, y'all. I hope y'all learned something about
I know. We didn't know it was gonna get. I didn't know I was gonna be over here crying and stuff. Like, so we hope that this kind of opens up maybe conversations for you guys. If you don't have a relationship with your dad or whatever, if you haven't even processed those emotions,
is it holding you back? That's the big thing.
Right.
If you feel like it's holding you back, I would talk about it. You know, don't just like. Even if you don't come to a conclusion, man, you bottle that stuff up until your adulthood. I think I might have mentioned it in another video. Like you're still that little kid.
Yeah.
In there, like that little kid is alive and well.
Right.
When stuff hits the fan, like it's gonna be something that somebody say or do, and you'll be wondering why you responded that way.
Where did that come from?
And it's gonna be something that reminded you.
Right. So. We hope that this just helps you guys out. Hopefully, I mean, the reality is there are a lot of people who did not grow up with their father in their home, but there's also people who grew up with their father in their home and or stepfather who stood in the gap. And so this is, you know, for those who did not have or share a similar experience as us, we really do hope that you filter through that thing, and so it doesn't hinder you from growth and whatever possible relationships that you're meant to have. And this was our first time kind of doing something like so serious. But we do want to start bringing like very relatable topics. So if you guys have some topics that you want us to discuss,
drop them in the comments.
We kind of just want to make sure that we're connecting with you guys and we're being as real as possible. So, anything else, Jay?
Nah, man. I think that's it, man.
All right. Well, guys, until next time, don't forget to like, to share, to comment. If you're not following us on Instagram at the JK Way. If you're not following us on Business Attire, and if you have not purchased any business attire from us, it's www.businessattireapparel.com. It'll all be in the description box. But if nothing else, we'll see you guys next time. Deuces.